Hey, welcome to the Sharpe Way show. Yes, it is a glorious Friday evening and it's 7 p.m. on the East Coast. So you got to look at my mug. I know you love doing that. And so please keep doing that. And don't forget, please like, comment, share. I know I bug you every time, but please do it. Let other people know that this show is going on. I want to bring up, I put in the description the idea of the future of competition. And I've been speaking about this for years, literally for years. And most of my talk about business and growth, I've been speaking about this since I ran in 2018. Many of the things I've talked about, some of the more popular people are now talking about, right? They're behind my curve. So one of them is Elon Musk. Elon Musk did an interview with the Wall Street Journal, I don't know, 4 months ago, something like that, several months ago. It was 2020, maybe December, maybe November. I don't remember exactly, but he did an interview and he talked about what he thought the future of competition was. Now, some of you are going to be like, Elon Musk, that guy's a government grifter. Well, yes and no. Yes. More yes than no, but yes. So it doesn't mean he's wrong. And he has some really good ideas. And believe it or not, many of them are libertarian. You may be shocked about that. But either way, whether you agree or love Elon Musk or hate Elon Musk, he says a lot of things that make a lot of sense. And I want to bring those up and talk to you because COVID and the government response to it has affected a lot of what we do. And we're going to have to respond effectively as a nation, as individuals, as companies, as employees, employers, and everything. Our kids are going to college and school. He discusses education too. All the things I've been talking about, Elon Musk is on board. I think he's watching my show. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Let me show you a couple things. I think you'll enjoy it. This should be a very interesting take.
Still apply in 2020, and are we broadly as a society doing everything we should be doing to foster that same environment that brought you here?
See, he was just talking about, there's an environment in America that has allowed you to succeed. And with 2020, are we still doing it, right? That's his concern. Are we still doing the American thing to take advantage and to push people forward to be great entrepreneurs?
Yeah, well, I think U.S. is still great with respect to innovation and fostering entrepreneurship.
See, he says, it's still great, but he doesn't want to say it wasn't great because that gets him in trouble. So
it's still great. I think we don't want to be complacent, and we
Yep.
want to say, okay, how can we make it better over time? And I think we want to be cautious about the gradual creep of regulations and bureaucracy.
Did you hear what he said? Gradual creep of regulations and bureaucracy. What party talks about that? Yeah, only one.
Rules and regulations are immortal. And if we keep making more of a year and do not do something about removing them, then eventually we will be able to do nothing.
Now, I want you, this is an amazingly powerful statement that most people don't understand at all. He says regulations are immortal. And if we don't get rid of any and we keep adding, eventually we can't do anything. We can do nothing. Yes. Yes. Why do you think Bill Maher went on a tirade the other day about how America can't build anything? Why do you see so many entrepreneurs can't get anything done? Why did you see when all of a sudden we needed a vaccine, the first thing we did was relax regulations? When we had to get stuff done, we had to all of a sudden ignore regulations. What does every governor, every executive, every mayor do when they need to get something done? Get rid of regulations. And wow, what happens? Stuff gets done and people don't all of a sudden die. I showed you this yesterday. Right? When you take away the regulations in Florida, do the businesses just go, great, everyone, let's start French kissing in the bathrooms? That's not what happens. I mean, I'm sure some people do, but that isn't what the owners do. They say, I still care about my people, and they still do smart things. This is his point.
This is very important, and I think not well appreciated. This is sort of like the slow boil of the frog.
Yes.
His bug doesn't jump out because it gets just slightly hotter each year. We should be aware of this, I think, particularly at the state level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about that because you've been running into that some in California. But
yes, because remember my policy in New York The policy I wanted to create in New York is similar to one that I have in Wyoming. My policy was if you are a small business owner and you want to sell your product or service only in New York State, if that's what you want to agree to, do it by doing it in writing. Hey, I agree. I will only do that. You will be immune from all federal regulatory bodies. Giving a small business owner a shot at success, whether that's a diner, whether that's a whatever it is. I don't care what it is, what's a shoe store, whatever. Amazon has tons of regulations. You won't. You have some chance at winning, right? Franchise McDonald's. That's a nationwide international company. They got to follow all the federal guidelines. Your Bob's Diner, you don't have to. That will make things better.
But let me ask in a broader sense. I mean, you've been working with government. You do business with government now. You've expressed strong feelings about government, pro and con.
Yeah, he has done a lot of business with government in New York State too, my friend. Picked up all our goodies and walked away. You did, but look, a lot of people are mad at Elon Musk for grifting the government. I'm actually not that mad at him, and the reason why I'm not that mad is because he's playing a system that we put together for him. It's like someone who yells about how they can't stand a system, but whatever, I don't know. Takes government health care or something. Fine, it's what it is. Take it. You're here. Take it, right? Do the thing that I'm taking my Biden bucks, right? Take your Biden bucks. I mean, it's fine. It's the system that you have. So he's working that system, and man, does he work it well.
At different times, depending on the circumstances. But when
Yes.
you think through an innovation lens in the broadest sense, what's the right role for government? Like what?
Now he's asking, when it comes to innovation, right? What's the right role for government? Elon Musk, not some crazy libertarian guy, not some, politician, some guy who is now, is he now the richest guy in the world or close to it? At least he's one of them, if not the richest. Very wealthy guy, making tons of money, doing all kind of cool things.
What is the role? Where should government be a player and where should it be hands off? What's ideal in your mind?
Sure. A lot of the time, the best thing that government can do is just get out of the way.
Surprise!
And so I'd say that's the default.
Surprise!
Probably the best thing to do. Then after that would be ensuring that there are not artificial monopolies. There is
artificial monopolies. I'm trying to think. What candidate in 2018 was talking about breaking monopolies and making sure there aren't government-sponsored artificial monopolies? Oh, that would be me. Think he's watching my show, guys. Yes, monopoly is bad. I say it all the time.
a fertile ground for startups.
And when people say, Larry, how are you going to use government force to break up the monopolies? If you notice what I always talk about, right? I always talk about the idea of not forcing to break up monopolies, but to allow a very awesome advantage for the little guys to create competition. That's what he just said. He said fertile ground for the startups. That's what he means. He wants to make sure that you have fertile ground for startups so they can get up and compete against the others. That's how you break monopoly, by allowing the people to choose where they want to go in any given environment.
Because what can happen over time is they can get regulatory capture by large companies.
Regulatory capture, for you guys who don't know what that means you create so many regulations that virtually nobody can get in because it's too expensive to even get into the industry. These are barriers to entry. There's basically no way of getting in. And if you walk in, it's a minefield of regulations. You make one mistake, you're finished, right? One error costs you $100,000 in fines. Your Tesla, whatever, there's your check. Your Bob's Diner, you're finished. Ball game over. No chance of survival. That's the issue, right? That is the issue.
Where they influence the regulators and the legislators to favor their situation. And then you have a forest of redwoods. And you just...
All right, let me cover two of these things he just mentioned. He says, absolutely, he says, you have these people influence regulators. Here's what you remember, two things. Number one, who writes all the regulations? Corporate lobbyists. That's who writes them. So the corporate lobbyists write the regulations. Well, if you're a corporate lobbyist writing the regulations, you're going to write them to make sure your corporations are happy. Of course you are. That's what you're paid to do. That's why you're there. Of course you can do that. But not just, it's a revolving door with regulators. Regulators also become government workers who become also internal, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to fight each other. They'll influence each other. That's regulatory capture. That's what he's talking about right now.
The little trees can't grow.
Little tree, because all the redwoods are there, suck everything out.
We really want to have an environment that tends to favor smaller companies and startups.
Yep.
The big companies really don't need the support.
Yep.
But they will generally try to work the system to establish a monopoly of some kind.
Yes.
We should be wary of that. In general, it's like I think we could consider changing the way we think of things from, say, capitalism versus communism. I apologize for the long answer, but I think
okay, here we go. He goes capitalism, communism. This is actually not a bad way to look at it. So if you got a couple seconds, hear this guy out. He's got a decent way of looking at this versus going capitalism bad or communism bad. It's a little bit different way of looking at it. Listen to how he touches this.
This is kind of capitalism versus communism, and think more in terms of feedback loops. So
feedback loops.
Is a given organization, does a given organization, government or commercial, have good feedback loop for the customer?
So he's going right to what I always say. Remember, I talked about this when I was running for office. I said, literally, I'm a business guy. I want to make sure that my customers are happy. And if I'm governor of New York, the New York population, they're my customers. And if they're leaving, literally just walking away, then I'm failing. But if they're staying in New York and people are coming to New York, coming to my company, I'm winning. So I want to make sure that that's my number one goal. Stop people from leaving New York State because I view them as my customers, right? All New York people, all New York State residents would be my customer. I said that more than once during the campaign. And I also said things like I would literally be driving around the state so I can talk to the New Yorkers and get to know what each county is thinking constantly. I've crossed the state. Everyone knows this 3 times already, every single county. And I'm going to do it again this year. And I'll do it again next year. And I'll still be talking so I can meet everyone in every single county. And I said, I'll get a bus and run the government out of a bus for at least a couple of months to get around it again. Why? Feedback loops. I have to understand what people are saying and they have to have a response.
Whether it's the people as a whole or whoever the customers are. And if you've got like a duopoly or oligopoly, they're generally going to have a weak response.
Duopoly or oligarchy, weak response. Yes.
To their customer. And if they're monopoly, they're going to have the weakest response.
Monopoly has the weakest response. And what do you know from data? And any of you who care, you can check the data. This is always the way it is. The average American has virtually no, and I mean almost no power to make things happen in Washington, D.C. Almost none. The average person is almost none. Lobbyists have everything. The feedback loops are basically non-existent. That's what's happening now. He's exactly correct. He's looking at it in a different way, which I think is not necessarily a bad way of looking at things.
To the customer. And the reason that government, I think, is often the worst at responding to the customers being the people is that they're a monopoly that can't go bankrupt, or usually
a monopoly that can't go bankrupt. That's what he just called socialism or communism. That's what he just called single payer without saying it. That is a smart way of dealing with that. It is a monopoly that can't go bankrupt, which means it will have terrible response and bad feedback loops. You know what we need to do? More centralized control. More centralized control. I think Elon Musk would disagree with that. He doesn't like duopolies or monopolies. Bad feedback loops, and it can't go bankrupt.
It cannot go bankrupt. So there's not really a cleansing process for a government short of a catastrophe.
Oh, so there's no cleansing. Look at what this guy. I love his words. There's no cleansing process short of a catastrophe. He just said the only way to fix this revolution. That's what he said. Beautiful words, brother. Well done.
So, I mean, if you want to complain about the DMV, what's the alternative?
Yes.
So a couple things to unpack there. First, I do want to, when you talk about redwoods dominating the air and smaller companies having a challenge.
Let me grab a couple of comments if I can. You guys are commenting. I'm going to grab a couple of them before we move on. There's a bit more of this I want to talk about. He's doing a really good job. I do appreciate that. Hey, Myron, good to see you. It's been a while, brother. Thank you so much for popping on. Brian, thank you for liking and sharing. Everybody else, please like, share, comment. It does work. Yes. Cliff says Elon Musk is brilliant, but he plays the rigged game. 100% right, Cliff. Correct. And he, I think he knows it too. He does. So while I'm a little upset, yeah, I get it. I get it. So Jimmy says we are already way overregulated. 100%. That's why he's talking about doing no more and start removing. That's what he's talking about. And I agree. Let's begin to at least stop it from growing, and then let's stop pulling back. Right now, we're just throwing more on, right? We're going more. Paula says less regulation equals more innovation. Yep. Paula says Musk better than Gates. I agree. 100%. I agree. Yes. So Brian says, rather like to debate about what to do with federal money if the LP ever qualifies for it. Take it. Yes. Take it. That's my view. Take it. Go do great things. If you don't take it, somebody else will. I know libertarians get mad at me. How could you take the money to ruin us? Maybe, but you know what? Let's take a chance to get ruined. Let's get a shot at getting ruined. That's it. Don says he's second right now. He was for a quick minute a month ago. Right. Thank you for that, Don. I knew he was in like a top 3. I didn't know if he was the richest or not. But yeah, thank you. He's number 2 now. There we go. Musk identifies as moderate, but he's been reported that he refers to himself as libertarian. Well, then maybe I should give him a call, get some bucks for a run or something. Got to hang out with him. Liberty Shamrocker, how are you? I love Elon. Don't hate, imitate. He's kicking ass. Not bothering taking names. I love that. Very good. Andrew says, I've long thought Elon Musk was a great Trojan horse to bring the ideas of the free market to the leftists. Want to solve climate change? No one's doing more than Tesla, a free market solution. Andrew, I've never thought of it that way. That's pretty smart, Andrew. I like that. That's pretty smart. If you look at him that way. I'm not sure, but you know what? I guess in a way, whether true or not, it's a really good story. So I like that story. I think I'm going to tell it because I do like it. It's a good story, right? He was using government to beat government. He was right. He was a Trojan horse to bring libertarianism to the world. It's a good story. I might write that book anyway. So I like it. Thank you. I think that's great. I haven't thought of it that way. You gave me a new way of thinking about it. So why is he wearing a bandana on his neck? Is he going to rob NASA? Yeah, that's funny, but he robbed far more than NASA already. I mean, he's already got the money in his pocket. He don't need the mask anymore. He did it open. Yeah, Paul, thank you. Paul, you read my mind. Yes, he already robbed NASA and more, right? Not just NASA. He's been robbing lots of places, which is why I like Andrew's story, because now he's Robin Hood, right? So I like Andrew's story. It makes me feel better about him. So I think I'm just gonna believe it, even if it's not true, because it makes me feel good. I'm gonna buy it, Andrew. I'm in. I love it. There we go. Jonathan says, honestly, I hear he's a hard ass, but I respect him a lot. Certain gripes notwithstanding. Gripes, yeah, agreed. Yes, absolutely true. So Dustin says, no wonder he supports my favorite decentralized money. Yes, absolutely. He does. 100%. Michael says, there's no possible way for any electronic device to get past FCC Rule 15 from 1993. Huh. A full 2 years before Windows 95, which makes ozone generators illegal. Okay. Same rule. Second, last sentence removes the government of all liability from infrared radio frequency radiation. Okay. Also known as energy in the form of data transfer using air gap, which is what SARS-2 actually is. Michael, you gave me a bunch of stuff I don't actually know. I appreciate that. I'm sure it's true, but this goes to something else. You know, I've done work for the Department of Buildings in New York City, and they have a problem too, which is they want to follow all the rules and regulations and make people safe, of course, and they want to build stuff in New York City. Oh my God, they're fighting all the time, right? Internally, like the people at the DOB are like, I can't stop everything from being built, but I gotta follow the rules. So you know what winds up happening? They start making decisions on which rules are the most of each. It's a hard spot to be in. But to Musk's point, we got to pull them back. We shouldn't make those decisions. We shouldn't have to. So, yes. Elon is the biggest welfare recipient in American history. That I'd have to see the numbers, but that's a believable thing. That's believable. Maybe. But doesn't mean he's wrong. Justin, does not mean he's wrong. So let me keep going. There's a couple more things he says, which I think you'll enjoy. Let me grab just a couple more here. I think you'll enjoy them. I'll head back over to your comments too.
Alex, some people would hear that as being the situation in Silicon Valley today. I don't think that's what you implied, but is that what you see in Silicon Valley?
But is that what people are saying? Silicon Valley has become a system to where everybody's huge, right? You only have the big boys. You only have the Twitters and the Facebook, and the little guys don't exist anymore. The Googles and little guys don't exist. So now what do you do? But there's a second piece here, right? When you have, even if you had fertile ground for the startups to grow, if after that regulations are so hard to go to the next step, what happens? They're just waiting to be bought. And then you have companies who actually stop innovating. They just encourage the little guy to innovate so they can buy it. So that's where innovation comes from.
Today?
Well, I think this is not a Silicon Valley problem. It's a general problem.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at, say, how many candy companies are there? Like, Big Candy is
3, 4
consolidated into like 3 companies or something.
Is it only 3? Yeah.
And they also own all the dog food and the baby food.
I didn't even know. Is that right? That they own all the foods, kids, dogs, and babies. They own all the foods. 3 companies. I don't know that to be true. That makes sense though. Again, believable.
So it's like, when's the last time there was some good candy? What's the forcing function for a new candy bar? I haven't.
That's an interesting question. I mean, if anyone eats, I don't eat that much candy. I've been on keto lifestyle for 10 years now, so I don't eat that much candy. But I'm trying to think about, has there been lots of new candies? I don't know. The ones I can think of have come from out of America, like cool Japanese candies and stuff that have come out. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Candy people do. Is he right or no?
See one in ages. So, we got to watch this like consolidation that ends up
that I agree with.
Resulting in lower responsiveness to the end customer.
And let me explain why consolidation comes for some of you who don't know this. The reason why we have so much consolidation recently was because of regulation. What? Yes, Enron and all that happened, and now we're gonna change everything, and we're gonna fix. We're gonna Sarbanes-Oxley. We're gonna make sure that we regulate. We're gonna make sure that all the CEOs, CFOs are held personally accountable for every little thing. We're gonna regulate. So what happened? Companies said, "Man, it's tough to go public. Let's not go public. How do we raise money without going public or going public in America?" They came up with 2 options. One, they went to Canada, and the Toronto exchange exploded. TSX was nothing before Sarbanes-Oxley. Now, all of a sudden, it's huge. Why? They said, let's go across to Canada. It's literally right across from New York State. We'll go to Toronto. We'll go there instead. They speak English. Life is good. We'll just go public there. It's across the freaking lake. We'll do that. That was option 1. And option 2 was M&A activity, mergers and acquisitions. And the thing that actually happened, and some of you will know this if you're in the field, is now I say I've got to raise money to grow. I can't go public anymore. I don't want to because it's not worth it. So what will I do? I'll buy a company. So I make candy, and you make a new baby food. I'll buy you. Your company's actually only worth about $10 million, but I'm gonna value it at 30, and then say I need 10 more to integrate. So I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna raise $40 million to buy that company that's worth 10. So I take the company. I give the CEO $5 million. He's happy as can be. He's off. I take my $35 million. I dismantle the company. I didn't want it anyway. So I dismantle that company, take $35 million, and I grow. And I have no strings attached. That's what actually started happening. And it's been happening. People are buying companies that make no sense whatsoever. They don't want the companies. They want an excuse to raise money. But it's a problem, though. That small baby food company, they'll keep it maybe. They probably already have one. They have to fire all those employees. All jobs lost. vulture capitalists. All those jobs are lost. They don't need them. They don't want the money. They just want the money. They don't want to spend it on these people. So they fire all those employees because they don't care about the brand anyway. They absorb whatever pieces they can use in their other places, and they sell the rest of the assets off. Done. Move on next. That's happened from regulation. So that's why he's talking about consolidation, because now people got into consolidation. That wasn't the case in the past. Now it's huge for consolidation. It's been happening, but that just sped it up. So now what happens? You have an actual industry for M&A activity. There are people who their only job is to make sure consolidation happens, and they're making a ton of money on it. They get a cut of how much money is raised. So imagine if we raise $100 million, $200 million, $1 billion to buy something. There's a lot of money. Your cut is a lot of that. You get a cut of that, you'll do almost anything, to include hire lobbyists to allow more consolidation. Money, money, money. Regulation means the wealthy win. Let me say that one more time. Regulation means the wealthy win every single time. That's what he's talking about. I hope I cleared it up and made it clearer for you.
And like I said, it's like, you can think of like in the limit, government is simply the largest corporation.
Yep.
So some people, I think it's a false dichotomy to look at government and sort of industry as separate. Government is simply a corporation in the limit. It is the ultimate corporation with
Yes.
a monopoly.
The ultimate corporation with a monopoly. And when people going, you know, we need more government power. You're giving more power to, quote, the ultimate corporation, and it's a monopoly. What do you hear me all the time say about government? It's two things. It's a monopoly and a jobs program. That's what government always is. This is what he's saying in a different way. Monopoly, jobs program.
But then as you get closer to, like I said, monopoly, as the feedback loop gets weaker and less responsive to the customer, that's where you have something which does not maximize the happiness of people, which...
Oh my God, does not maximize the happiness of people. What have I said the liberty movement is about? Happiness. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The job of government is to allow us to have life, liberty, and to pursue happiness. Even Elon Musk knows that. This guy's got to be watching my stuff. He's got to be. He's got to be watching my show.
It should be our objective overall.
Yeah.
We had a couple people last night at this event who were joining the Biden administration, a couple of the president-elect senior advisors.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly one of the things heavily on their mind.
He said president-elect, right? Because at this point, these are some Biden administrators. Now that I look back, this was in December. So this was about a month after the election that this was last year that this interview was done.
It's sort of a new national industrial policy, for want of a better term. They talked about spending a lot more on research and development and fostering innovation. Big government spending, basically.
Big government spending.
Is
Oh, his head's nodding because he's like, I'm gonna get me some of those dollars. You know, Elon's like, I like government spending. I am so gonna get some of that. He loves that. Elon is all about that. Now, don't get me wrong. He'll say it's wrong, and he's correct. It's wrong, and he will take that money. Yeah, he will.
that kind of national industrial policy a good idea? Is that a good use of government right now in your mind? And if it is, where would you focus that kind of effort?
I would focus that effort on my companies is what I would focus that effort. I would like a nice big check from Uncle Joe, please, so I can go build some more cool stuff.
Well, it's government's responsibility to establish the rules of the game and ensure that those rules are properly enforced. Like, sort of like the referees on the field, and it's like football or something. Then you got the rules, you got the referees. You got to make sure the rules are the right rules. The referees are enforcing the rules. I think
as you talk often, I talk often about the idea of making government more like Uno, simpler to understand, less referees required, more people can join, and less like Dungeons and Dragons. I love Dungeons and Dragons, but less people going to play, a whole lot more rules, a whole lot more dungeon masters.
That's an important role for government to ensure that the rules are correct and that the incentives are what we actually want them to be for, like I said, the long-term maximum happiness of the people into the future.
Happiness. That's the goal.
Where I think government does not do a great job is when they want to not just be a referee on the field, they want to be a player on the field.
Oh, so you mean like give out health care or give out insurance or give out things so they're part of the actual economy, yeah, that's a problem, isn't it? What a great way of looking at that. You want to be a referee on the field, and you want to be a player. Why don't we let government just be referee? How about that? Let's just go to referee with simple rules. Can we just go there? That's what I'm saying. I love that he brought that up. You don't have no idea how much, because it's exactly what I talk about constantly. Let me grab a couple more comments, and you guys keep commenting. I'm gonna keep grabbing a couple if I could. So Paula says, yes, take the money. That's what I'm saying. I'm with you. Yes. Jay says Elon's private rockets cost 1/10 of a NASA rocket, and it's reusable. The private sector does a better job. I think, of course it does. But to his point, you really want to have the right incentives and a fairer, better playing field, and then the private sector does a better job. Otherwise, the private sector falls to the same problem in that it becomes a monopoly. And again, bad feedback loops, all those things. Absolutely. Yes. Brian says, I agree. We've got to take the money. We must play the game with the tools we have available to beat the duopoly. I'm in. Yes. 100%. If we take the government money to win the election, we can get rid of the election money. Shelley. Yes. Absolutely. Love it when Musk packed up, moved to Texas. He's going to cover that in a minute, Paula. In fact, so let me keep going. He's actually going to cover that too. That's also brought up.
This does not end up in a good situation.
Picking winners and losers. That kind of
Picking winners and losers.
I mean, effectively, government incentives do favor. Like you're going to say, like, what are the rules of the game? This is obviously an imperfect analogy, but I do think it is a pretty good one. That you want the government to be carefully focused on ensuring the rules of the game are what we actually want them to be. That we're getting rid of old rules. This is very important, which is not.
He keeps bringing up that idea of old rules. If you remember my policy from 2018, I brought up the idea of every single law in New York State, everyone without exception, and I mean every law, should have a 6-year sunset. 6 years, it goes away unless it is, all over again, re-voted on. It has to be re-voted on every 6 years, every single law. And it must be single sheet, not all the laws. We all say yes, each one separately. You do that, watch the old laws fall away. And then someone will also go, well, they forget to make murder a law. First off, they're not gonna. That's insane, and even assume that's never gonna happen. They somehow get themselves paid in raises every year. They remember that, so they'll remember murder. But let's say they forget murder. Say it actually happens. They forget to make murder a law. Great. We still have manslaughter, other forms of murder, assault. The one guy who they went, oh, we can't charge him. We don't have murder as a law. We'll get that one guy on manslaughter or whatever is the appropriate thing, and then we'll re-vote on murder. It'll be fine if it ever happens. So every single law, 6-year sunset, goes away unless voted on. Not just that, it keeps our legislators busy on rereading laws. They have to reread laws and be responsible for the newer laws, because then they can't go, well, it was already the law. No, dude, you voted on it just last year. 4 years ago, you were still in. You voted on that law. You said yes to it. You're responsible now. It's an excellent idea. He's right. Laws have to start going away.
Occurring, and that the rules are enforced such that we have ethical behavior of companies. Now, there are times when you have an unpriced externality, such as the CO2 capacity of the oceans and atmosphere. So then, if that is not priced in effectively, then you can get behavior in industry behavior that does not, that we think is arguably not good.
See, this part I'm not happy with, but I get where he's going. It's better than not. He's talking about basically a carbon tax in some way, shape, or form, right? He's saying if the bad stuff costs more, they'll do less of it. I get that logic. It's drugs, cocaine costs a lot of money. Yet people still do a lot of cocaine. And the other problem is it also creates the black market of meth and crack and every other bad thing, and heroin and all those things, and fentanyl. It creates all those things too. So I'm not sure that's always the right answer, but I get where he's going with it. And the next thing is, we don't have carbon tax now, yet he's making electric cars. We're still doing solar and wind and stuff, and we don't have carbon tax yet. I'm not sure this one's right, but I get where he's going with it.
For the environment or not good for the future of the planet. Most of the time, provided pricing is correct, you will see correct behavior from private industry. So, that's like one example where if we effectively price carbon, we'll see the right behavior, and then the government does not need to try to pick technology winners and losers. They can simply incent the outcome. I think it's incredibly important that government focus on incenting the outcome, not the path.
Now that concept, I'm actually with. I'm with him on the concept. Right now, government does not do that. Government says exactly what you must do, how you must do it, how long it must be, how far it must go, every single thing. They order you what to do, so when you don't do it, they can punish you and put you in jail and fine you. It is a racket. It is a money-making scheme. His concept is, don't do that. Just incentivize the right outcomes. If you don't get to the right outcome, you don't get the incentive. If you get to the right outcome, however you do that, you get the right incentive. It's a much better theory to govern on. That's for sure. Better theory. I'll give him that. 100% better theory.
You mentioned California, and I have to ask, you're in Texas right now, and
here we go.
Speculation, and you've been vocal
Paula,
this year on some of your frustration in California. Are you relocating? Is it happening? And can you talk a little bit about what's been troubling you in California so much this year since you mentioned it?
A bunch of the same stuff that's bugging us in New York, my friend. The same stuff he talked about. He's going to tell you right now. He's already gone. This is from December. He's already out of California. Listen to what he said. You asked Paul. I told you he's going to talk about it. Here he is now.
Sure. Well, first of all, Tesla and SpaceX obviously have massive operations in California. In fact, it's worth noting that Tesla is the last car company still manufacturing cars in California.
Hear that?
SpaceX is the last aerospace company still doing significant manufacturing in California.
See that? His two companies are the last two in California, and he just moved. What's that tell you? They're coming next. There's going to be none in California. And California's worried about what? Changing what employees are to make it harder to employ people? Raising minimum wage or whatever it is? How about keep jobs in your state? That might not be a bad thing to focus on.
So there used to be over a dozen car plants in California, and California used to be the center of aerospace manufacturing.
Yes.
My companies are the last two left. I want to emphasize. So that's a very important point to make.
Yes, it is.
For myself, yes, I have moved to Texas.
Yep.
We've got the Starship development here in South Texas, where I am right now. We're going to do a launch later today.
And are you telling me that he's going to leave his companies in California? He's in Texas. He's just waiting on the right time to pack up everything. I'm sure his team is already literally signing papers, probably as we speak, already signed them on what area he's basically going to buy. It's cheap now with COVID. So he's going to get a bunch of commercial space and move his operations right there to Texas. Guaranteed.
And then we've got the big factory development just outside of Austin.
Already outside of Austin.
But you made the move really. Why? Why did you go?
Yeah, why? Tell me.
Personal decision, or was it? It was partly a corporate environment decision, really, for the headquarters, isn't that?
Well, I mean, in my case, the two biggest things that I've got going on right now are the Starship development in South Texas, which was done. This was set in motion like 5 years ago.
You knew it was coming.
The big new U.S. factory for Tesla, which is called Giga Texas, just by Austin. So those are the two biggest projects.
Yeah.
So these necessarily drive my time here.
Of course, you're moving everything to Texas, guy. I get it. I'm not mad at you. At least a third of New Yorkers who are leaving New York are going to Texas. It's fine. They're going to Florida, Texas, Arizona, Tennessee. They're out. I get it.
Yeah, and then the other big thing for Tesla right now is the Giga Berlin. So I was in Berlin. Spent a fair bit of time in Berlin working on that.
And also China.
And
I mean, a lot of Teslas in China.
There's
he's making stuff outside of the country now too. Tons of, I think like 20% of his revenue comes out of China now. That's how much money he's making in China. Killing it in China.
California is great. So there's a lot of things that are really great about California. Obviously, it's the biggest economy in the country. Most of them are people. I do think that there is something that happens when,
Tell me.
If it's
say it nice.
Sort of sports team analogy, like if a team has been winning for too long, they do tend to get a little complacent, a little entitled, and then they don't win the championship anymore.
Complacent and entitled. That's what he called California. That's not bad. You know what? You're a decent politician. You're not bad. I like how you didn't go garbage and crushing us. You just went complacent and entitled. Well done.
So California's been winning for a long time. And I think they're taking it for granted a little bit. Yeah.
There we go. A little bit. Just a little bit as everyone leaves.
On innovation in corporate America in general. I mean, innovation has always been core to who you are. It's how you think about your companies and your role. In the corporate suite in America, are companies in general fostering and developing and innovation and as the leaders in corporate America?
Talking about leaders again. Now, guys, I talk about leadership all the time. It's what I do for a living. My day job is this, right? Special, good post-industrial leadership.
This call, do we prioritize innovation as much as we might or need to? Do you think right now?
Well, I think there's innovation, but then there's also just our CEOs in corporate America focus enough on product improvement. I think the answer is no.
There we go.
And I think generally my advice or my recommendation would really be spend less time on finance, spend less time in conference rooms, less time on PowerPoint, and more time just trying to make your product as amazing as possible.
I cannot stress how important that is. Yes, he's right. The problem is, though, the system right now, the way it works, all the money is in finance. That's where the cash is. He's right. People aren't spending all their time in finance because they're dumb. That's not the reason. They're spending time in finance because that's where the money is. Finance is a huge industry in America. The Fed gives the money away. The Fed gives the money away. Literally, here is free money. Please go give it away. Please go make tons of money on transaction fees and all these fees. Move money around. Don't build anything. Just move money around and make billions. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll be clear on this. I'm not against finance. We need it. Finance is important. Loaning and borrowing and selling and back and forth. Important stuff. We have to have it to grow our economy. It's an important part of business. It's nowhere near the size it should be. It is a massive chunk of our economy, and it should be a much smaller chunk. We have incentivized it because of our Fed are lowering the interest rates. That's why a lot of our best and brightest are going into finance. And the worst part about this is, so is a lot of our AI. We're not taking our AI products, our AI services, our AI brilliance, and doing it to say combat a possible cyber attack from China or Russia. That's like nothing. We're worried about how fast can we get our algorithms on so we can trade freaking GameStop and make a killing. That's what we're focusing everything on because that's where the money is in finance. I'm not against you buying GameStop and making money. Enjoy. But that's not bringing value. That's just moving money around, which again, enjoy. But if you have a huge chunk of your economy that's doing that, unless you're at like a city state, like, I don't know, Luxembourg, which is basically a bank surrounded by a city. I mean, if that's what you are, fine, do that. Singapore, fine. We're a 330 million person country. We can't be a bank surrounded by a country. It doesn't work for us. It works for Luxembourg. It works for Singapore. It's not going to work for us.
And the company take their cue from that.
Why is that? Is that because boards or shareholders are too finance and return focused and don't think enough about product as being at the heart of value? Is it because a certain kind of skill is cultivated? Why is that? Why is that a problem?
I just told you. Should ask me. I told you. See, he didn't have an answer. I had to answer right away. I should be doing this interview. I'm not as cool as Elon Musk. I know. I'm better looking. That's true, but I'm not cool enough.
I think there might be too many MBAs running companies.
I love that answer, though.
There's the MBAization of America, which
You have heard me say this how many times? He literally just said, Americans, stop going to college so much. Not all of you should be in college. Yes, some people should go to college and some people shouldn't go to college. It depends on the person. We shouldn't be throwing people into just more college. Get advanced degrees. Why? You should get an advanced degree if it's right for you, not just because I'll be more valuable. No, you won't. Get your degrees because it makes sense to you, because it's where you want to go. He's saying everybody's getting MBAs. Yeah, because they think that's the way to go to the front. It isn't. You need number crunchers. You got to have them. You need people who will cross the T's and dot the I's. For those of you who don't know, that's the script thing. Some of you youngsters don't write in script anymore. You need those things. Absolutely. Those people are important. But if you want to grow your business, it's not enough. I can't have 7 MBAs running a company. That company's dead. No chance of success whatsoever. Forget about it. I got 2 or 3 MBAs, then a couple people who are workhorses, a couple people who are like the savvy marketer types. Now we're good. Now we're rocking and rolling. We don't need everyone to be an MBA. This is why you these big consulting companies, the McKinseys and BCGs of the world, virtually useless. They come into your company, they'll charge you $1 million, and they'll tell you, what do you want me to say? You want me to say A equals B? A equals B. Thank you for the $1 million. That's how they work. So yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think is maybe not that great.
Maybe not that great. Very political.
Be more focus on the product, the service itself.
Yes.
Less time on board meetings. Less time on financials. The financials come as a result. Like you say, like what's the point of a company at all?
Yes. Before he goes there, I'm talking about this. It's not that finances don't matter. They do. But here's the thing I will tell every entrepreneur, every company I come into. Financials matter. Checking and saving your money does matter. But here's the number one thing to remember. You cannot save your way to success. Doesn't work. You have to grow your way to success. Now, saving may be a part of that growth. Again, I'm not anti-saving. That may be required. Cutting a corner here or there for some dollars. Totally could be very valuable, right? Because you need other money for investment. But if your goal is, I'll just be frugal, you can't save your way to success. It doesn't work. You've got to also be able to move forward. I think that's his point. Let me grab a couple more comments if I can, real fast here. Got a bunch of these. So, all right. I think Musk is on record saying he hates Silicon Valley. Is that right? I don't even know that. You liked him when he smoked weed on Rogan. He did. He does smoke weed. That's true. Yes. Andrew says, the first time I ever heard of Elon Musk, I thought it was the name of a cologne or body spray like Axe. Never thought it was the name of a person. Elon Musk for men. I guess it could work. It could. Yeah. There we go. Need another Harry Potter before there'll be new candies. Oh, okay. We'll get you like that. Fine. Okay. Wasn't Dick Cheney associated with Enron? I actually don't remember. Maybe. I actually don't remember. Yeah. Intermittent windshield wipers are a great example of large corporations stealing ideas via making hurdles in the form of regulation. There are many of them. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Yes, there are many of those. Yes. So I want you to be governor of New York. Thank you, Luke. I appreciate that. But what would make you nervous if Musk became president of the U.S.? Well, I mean, I don't know. Can Musk is not born in America, right? I don't think he is, right? So he could become president. I don't think he can, at least. I mean, but then again, they let Ted Cruz run. So who knows? Who knows? The rules only matter if people enforce them. So that's the reality. If no one enforces them, the rules don't matter. They only matter if someone enforces them. So I don't know. Could Elon Musk become president? He'd be better than most. I'll give you that, right? I'm sure he and I would not see eye to eye on everything, I'm sure. But would he be better than the guys we have now? Yeah, he would. He actually knows how to innovate and lead in a post-industrial leadership model. People said Trump knew how to lead, but Trump grew up in an industrial model. He doesn't know post-industrial leadership. Elon Musk does. He knows post-industrial leadership. So he'd be better than Trump in that leadership, better than Biden in not wanting to control everything. So I think he'd be better in both cases. He'd be better. What would I be afraid of or nervous? I think if I was nervous of one thing, it would be that he would want to globalize America faster than America that American culture is prepared to globalize, creating, I think, culture shock. That, I think, would be my worry, that he might want to globalize America faster than America's prepared to globalize. Not that I'm against globalizing America, but as long as American culture and people are ready and moving forward towards that, totally fine. I'm not against it. My worry is, though, would he do it in a way like tomorrow, boom, and American culture would just be completely shocked, and the disruption that could come from that would be very challenging. I think that would be my worry. I'm not saying he would do that, but that would be my concern. I hope that answers your question. So Elon is also a university in North Carolina. Oh, I didn't know that. There we go. Thank you, Jonathan. I do appreciate that. Yes. So Michael says, New York is the heaviest regulated state in the union in financial services. Yep. One of the most recent, Regular 187, forced many companies and their products out of the state because they either couldn't or did not want to undertake the steps to complete. The biggest players gain market share, which is the norm. Thank you, Michael. Remember, regulation equals big players win. That is exactly how that works. Shelley says, M&M Mars makes far more than candy. Okay. Aramark is controlling the most grain and vegetable markets. I can't find the rest right now. Brain injury. These same consolidations used to be cooperatives. In a cooperative, everyone in it shares the profits and losses. There we go. Yes, I knew M&M Mars is huge. I do remember that. Yeah, absolutely. I do remember that piece. I do remember that they're really big and make a bunch of the candies that in the past were multiple companies. Absolutely. So let me keep going here. The government has been players in the corporate world for decades. Yeah. It's about time someone's calling out those involved. Go Elon. There we go. See? Absolutely. Sure. Everyone is moving back to New York. I don't think that's true, Susan. From what I hear, at least from the data that I've gotten, I forgot where, is it from? Is it New York Times? Oof, I don't remember the actual place where I got it from. But New York State overall at its high point lost 1 million workers at its highest amount of workers that it lost. Now it's, I think, at 500,000. I don't think much more are going to be coming back. We're going to lose about 400,000 to 500,000 total workers who probably won't come back to New York. And the question is the repercussions from that, people who would service those people, what will happen there? My gut tells me New York will go next year. It will go under 8 million. And then a year or two after that, it'll go under 7 million. And I don't think it'll recover past 7 million ever. That's my opinion on that. We'll see if I'm right. But there's just so much, to deal with that. So, yes. Jonathan says, I see you got the new earbuds and cut the cord. I did. See, I know I'm an old man, Jonathan, but I can change too. So, yes, I went with the earbuds. I think it's a better look. But they fall out of my ears sometimes. I got to keep tapping them. Just pain. But, yes, thank you for noticing. See, I'm getting better. So, Andrew says, I think Elon is thinking on a longer time scale than our politicians and investors, which is why he appears to be one step ahead. We need more people planting trees under which the shade we will never sit. Nice. I like that story. Well done. That's a good one. I like that. All right, let me see if I can grab a couple more. So as he goes down this next road, if I could. He goes down another road.
And why even have companies? It's like a company is an assembly of people gathered together to create a product or service and deliver that product or service. And sometimes people lose sight of that. A company has no value in and of itself. It only has value to the degree that it is an effective allocator of resources to create goods and services that are of greater value than the cost of the inputs.
With the except when you go to finance, right? He's correct in theory, but not in practice. In practice, we use corporate shells, tax shelters, tax codes, government rules to create entities that are just ways of making money without doing anything. They shift money back and forth, move money around, purchase, buy, and sell entities. They do nothing, hence the holding company, things like that. Holding companies, M&A companies, things like that, right? During this, and it's happening right now, for those who don't realize, one of the biggest reasons, the biggest reason, there are many, but the biggest reason why we have a wealth gap in America is because after every crash, about every 10 years or so, there's a crash. When a crash comes, the wealthiest people, they get out of the market early and get liquid enough cash because they get told by the elites, tell them this, they're elites. Everyone else gets their butt kicked. The very poor are already very poor. They lose the least. They're already in trouble. But the working poor and middle class get hammered and have to sell all their assets. Who buys their assets? The wealthy. But the wealthy guy doesn't want to go out there and buy his own assets. So what does he do? He creates holding companies and hedge funds and private equity firms and things like that, and they purchase the assets. So that's why you find so many places out there, who owns these 14 homes in this area has been knocked down and put up, an apartment complex. It's, Acme Holdings. What's that? That's some wealthy people who put their money into an entity and started buying and selling stuff. And they don't care if you pay rent or not. They're just going to buy and sell anyway. They're moving stuff around, making transactions, making money. So in theory, he's correct. But the second you add a whole lot of high finance with tons of rules and regulations on that, you find that people using the rules to make a bunch of money.
The thing we call profit is should just mean over time that the value of the output is worth more than the inputs.
That's what it should be.
And
I agree.
It's a reflection of the quality of the product more than. So if the product is good, presumably the profits follow rather than
should be
profits being versus profits. And
yeah. So
that's how it should work.
Sort of have backwards, and if people are getting sort of the incentive structure is coming from the financial side of things. I don't know.
It's what I'm saying. It's coming from finance. It's him and I, simpatico. It's what I've been saying.
I just earnestly would recommend to anyone listening that just spend less time in meeting rooms, less time on PowerPoint presentations, less time on a spreadsheet, and more time on the factory floor, more time with customers.
Yep.
And obviously a lot of people out there are already doing that, but I would just urge people to say hey, step back a second and say, is your product as awesome as it could be? Probably not. What could you do to make it great?
There we go. So let me grab a couple more comments if I could, real fast. So Susan says, Elon, not a fan. A lot of people aren't, Susan. You're not alone with that one. Focus on the outcome. Oh, great. What I mean by focusing on the outcome is instead of telling someone or making a law, as an example, that says you must give every employee this amount of healthcare coverage or for this price or whatever the case may be, I want to not think that way. I want to think about it as the outcome. And the outcome is I want to make sure that my people have the best healthcare. That's the outcome that I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on how do I ensure that each company gives people this thing. That's not what I want to do. And focus on how they do it. That's not critical. The focus should be on the outcome. And if there are negative things they do, punish the company if they do negative things. But as an example, instead of me saying every company must do this or go do that, I say, here's an incentive if you're able to say, as an example, and I'm making this up, Susan, as just for your question, the outcome we want to focus on is every company should have a situation to where 95% of their employees, I made that number up, have access to quality healthcare. Maybe that's the outcome we focus on. So I'm worried about that. So now what happens? A larger company says, you know what? I'm not going to go through health insurance. I'm instead going to make a deal. Since my people are working in a certain area, it's a local place. I'll make a deal with the hospital. I'm going to pay the hospital a flat monthly fee. And the flat monthly fee allows my people to go there for $5 a visit. I made that up. For $5 a visit whenever they're ill. And their family members too, as long as they have the card that says they work for me. Now, some people do stuff like that. Right now, you'd be hard pressed to do that. You'd have to find a TPA, which is a third-party administrator, pay millions of dollars, blah, blah. Can it be done? Yeah. And do some people do it? Yeah. But it's only big companies can do it. Smaller companies can't. So I want to focus on the outcome versus focus on how I get there and allow innovation to get to the outcome I'm trying to give a benefit to. Maybe my benefit is if you're able to get 95% of your employees to be on some type of healthcare plan, whatever that thing is, right? That number or more, obviously, then your payroll taxes are, get reduced by 25%. I made that up totally, but that's the concept of focusing on an outcome and incentivizing outcomes instead of giving each individual company the rules that it must abide by and punishing them when they don't. I hope that's clearer conceptually on doing that. So yeah. All right. Jose says, I like carbon taxes replacement for all the taxes, making all taxes Pigovian. That means, I guess that's good. Is that a good thing? Or bad thing? Price in negative and negative externalities and let the market take care of the rest. It's not necessarily a bad idea, right? If I compare the idea to status quo, yes, right? Compared to status quo. I'm not sure it's the perfect place to go. If I thought it was a stepping stone, I'm open to the idea, right? If it's a stepping stone move, I'd be open to the idea. You have to have the right environment to go there, because as Elon said, most time regulations are immortal. So if you put a carbon tax on, the odds are you wouldn't replace the other taxes. I would hope you would, but if you didn't, they'd probably just add them on later. So you'd be able to add taxes other ways. That's my worry about that. But I get where you're going with it. I do. So, all right. He has more freedoms in Texas. That's true. That's why he went there. Yes. Dustin says 5 of my coworkers quit and moved to Texas, and I'm in the process of doing the same. California's a failed state. A lot of friends I know, they just want to do that. To do as he pleases for a move. Yes. But I want to bring that piece up though, Susan, and what Dustin just said. When you have this issue, you have a lot of people who just realistically can't move and they're stuck. They can't move either because of financial issues, right? They don't have enough money to pack up and sell things. And as things, as maybe your house is underwater, or maybe, your mortgage is underwater. I'm sorry, or your house, but your mortgage is underwater, or you have high taxation. No one wants to buy your home or something like that. That could be a problem. Or you might have an issue where, you're working for the state and you're going to get a pension in 5 years. Do you really want to leave and throw your pension away? Or maybe you have elderly parents. Susan, I bring that up. I know you know well how that works. Maybe you want to stay here for your parents until they pass, or a child who's going to school. There are many reasons why people wouldn't want to leave New York or California, whatever. You're Elon Musk, you pack up and you move. You're one of the richest guys in the world. You have a mansion in California, a mansion in Texas. It's nice to be rich and wealthy like that. He does have more. He can do what he pleases. I completely agree. But good for him. I'm not mad at him for it. Good for him. I wish I had his money. I can go do some cool things too. Be nice. So Jimmy says, and people wonder why the homeless population is so bad in California. No major manufacturing, less jobs. I'm sure that's a part of it. I'm sure there are a lot of other issues. But yeah. Man with stuff, look, that going in California. Newsom should be recalled. Well, that's true. Newsom should be recalled. But, are they going to get somebody great all of a sudden? I'm not sure. Apollo says it's almost as if competition makes you better somehow. Crazy. I know. Pretty much nuts. So taxation is theft. Good ideas don't require force. Make electric awesome and just. Well, this is the point, right? I know that when you talk about adding a carbon tax, as was it Jose? Did he mention that? Was it Jose who brought up the idea of the carbon tax? I think it was Jose. Jose. So, I get your point, Ryan. Do I want to be adding taxes? No, of course not. I'm libertarian. Of course I don't want to do that. Would I be open to the idea if I believed, and that's the question, would I believe? Do I believe it's actually going to remove the other taxes and we're going to put some kind of governor in place that's going to stop new taxes? I would consider it if that was the next best step. But otherwise, I get your point completely. That was my word with Jose. You say you're going to get rid of the taxes, you don't. Or you do, they just throw them back on, and now you're right back to where you were, plus more taxes. So looks like he's taking Adam Carolla's position on California. Weather, culture, and convenience so the governor can be crap and people put up with it. Couldn't pay me enough to move out there. I think that's right now where also Bill Maher is. He's like, man, I just don't want to leave. I like it so much. Yeah, I think that's what it is. So, all right, let me go back and you got a couple more things I want to bring up with him. I think you may enjoy. He's not done yet.
And if you like think about innovation, like maybe it has to be like breakthrough innovation. I don't think it necessarily has to be breakthrough innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Just like
sure,
like
just better.
Just make your product better.
Yes.
This is the thing that really matters.
Is that kind of
Absolutely.
product mindset that the kind you described? Is that learnable? Is it teachable, or is there an innate element that somebody has to have to really to do it well? I mean, not everybody's innovating or thinking on your scale a lot, but
Good point.
You look for innovative people when you hire them.
He does when he hires.
That is pretty easily learnable, or is there some innate quality in the people?
I want to bring that up. He says he looks for innovative people when he hires. This goes back to the MBA. He's not a huge fan of hiring MBAs, right? I'm not saying you should be an MBA, but he's not a huge fan of hiring a bunch of them. He wants people who have done something. It's a different way of looking at how things work, which is why not all of us should be going to college. Some of us should be going to college if that's where your life is going. You should never just go, you know, what am I going to do? I guess I'll go to college. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. It should be, no, there's something I want to do that requires a college degree. I should go to college. Makes total sense. Please do that. But not just because. That's just not the right answer. It should be because you want to go. So let me grab some of this. I only have a year left of college with studying political science. Thank goodness. Yeah, but you're running for office, man. You're probably doing the right thing. Like, hey, Andrew, it's probably the right thing for you. Forgiving student loans is an admission that college degree is worthless. Yes, and you know what else was? The college scandals. All the people getting into college because their mom or dad gave $1 million or lied or whatever. Those kids didn't all fail. They're the same graduation rate as anybody else. Yeah. Why? Because all you have to do is just show up and you get your degree and it's worthless. Yes, absolutely. 100%. It's not just about college. It's about the degrees chosen. Yes. We know people in engineering, science, and technology. If that's what you want to do, Jose, and that's my point. I want to make sure. If you don't want to be in that field, why would you do it? If you'd rather be a plumber, or you'd rather build houses, be a plumber, build houses if that's what you want to do. But not just that. You don't have to go into that field when you're 18. You can say, you know what? I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to go join the Army. Or join the Marine Corps, which is cooler. Oh, join the Army and be in the Army for 4 years if you want to. And then come out and go, you know what? Time for college. I think I'm going to get into tech. Or do something else, right? Do what Andrew's doing. Get one in political science. Run for office. Be part of the political machine. See if you like it. If you like it, stay. If you don't, go back to college. Whatever the case may be. I would like us to move around. But Larry, what if we don't have enough people in engineering, science, technology? Then they'll have to woo us into it, won't they? And they will, because people will see job offerings there and they'll go do it. But something else will happen. And you see it already. Let's say you can't get enough people into, coding. I'm making this up, right? You don't have enough coders. I don't know if that's true, actually. But let's say for the sake of argument, you need coders. Well, what if you don't have enough coders locally and you can't get enough overseas because of immigration policies? What do? You start training people to code. That's what businesses do. They take in smart people and they train them to code. You will by default create more OJT. That's what happens. You don't just go under. Businesses adapt and find answers. So I agree with you, but always because people decide they want to. So SATs, useless. Might as well throw them all in the garbage. Totally useless, mean nothing. Sorry, guys. Mean nothing. Useless. I don't know why we even have them. They mean nothing. So, yes. All right. Let's see here. Paul, he was born in South Africa. Thank you. I knew he wasn't born in America. That's right. South Africa. There we go. I sound like Jordan Peterson. I do. Okay. I sound like a Canadian PhD. Nice. I think. Thank you. So let's see here if I can keep going here. In my opinion, most kids don't even have a clue what career they're interested due to mandated classes. Electives would broaden horizons. Every kid has instant stock in every class. Yes, Ryan. And yes, you remember my entire policy. My education policy was K through 10. And right after that, boom, it explodes and you begin to do what you want to do and test your life out at 16, starting to figure things out. And by the time we're done, 4 or 5 years, you actually know what you want to do for at least your first career, if not your second or third. I do appreciate that. Let me grab a couple more of these if I can. We're almost out of this, guys. I'm going to grab you a couple more things that he says, which I think are pretty interesting. I hope you're enjoying this.
That succeed.
I think it is learnable. Step number one would be try.
Yes.
Have you tried? And have you tried hard? And if you haven't tried hard, try hard. I think it is learnable. It's not some mysterious.
But the point he didn't bring up was what you hear me talk about all the time, which is being okay with failure. That's a critical piece. And part of the culture that's hurting us right now in America is the idea of zero tolerance, one strike and you're out. You've got to fail your way to success. There's no way around that, guys. Anyone who says that that's not true doesn't understand what success is and has never had it or hasn't seen it. You only fail your way to success. There's no way around it. Successful people all have one thing: grit. When they fall down, they get back up. If you are someone who cannot get back up, you have to work on that or you're going to struggle to be successful. If you can get back up, you got a shot at being successful. You may not be, depends on how you define success and where you want to go, and of course other aspects. But if you don't have grit, you will not be successful. You're really going to struggle hard. That's just completely lucky. And if you have grit, you got a shot. You still may not be, but you got a good shot. Getting back up is the critical aspect. So while he says have you tried and tried hard, the question is, to try hard means to risk falling down. To try hard means to risk failing. And if you haven't tried hard yet, you might have already failed. And you fall into a slump and not try hard again. So resilience is key here.
Thing. It's just basically just be like an absolute perfectionist about the product that you make, the service that's provided. Seek negative feedback from all quarters.
Feedback is critical. Feedback loops are right.
People who aren't customers, like, hey, okay, what can we make this? How can we make this better?
Yep.
And
I say this all the time. When customer service complaints, when you get them, you shouldn't be angry. When you get customer service complaints, that's actually a gift. It is a very poorly wrapped gift, but it is absolutely a gift. I got that idea. I forgot who told me that. That was a buddy of mine I used to work with, a guy named Rich Atkins used to say it all the time. It's a gift, but it's a poorly wrapped gift. And he's right. It's a poorly wrapped gift, but it is a gift. And when you get that, you can look at it and go, you know what? How can I be better?
I think it's absolutely learnable. And just if you find yourself spending a lot of time in getting presentations and reviewing spreadsheets, you're barking up the wrong tree.
There we go.
That's the effect, not the cause. So just get out there on the factory floor, get out there in the stores.
Gotta get out there on the factory floor.
Think about what would you love to have? Oh, and sometimes I think, and I've had this conversation at Tesla a few times, where it's like we're trying to think, okay, it's at times like we don't love this product, but we think others will love it. That's not really how it works. If you don't love it, don't expect others will either.
It's a very interesting piece. If you don't love it, don't expect others will either. I'm not sure I buy that one, to be forward. Right? It should be if you're not proud of it. But there's lots of things that you don't have to like. I remember Famous Amos. Some of you may remember this. I'm dating myself. Famous Amos made the Famous Amos cookies. They were very popular. And this guy was like a guy who was like, got out of prison and no education, something like that. Some amazing success story. He made cookies and people loved his cookies and people bought Famous Amos cookies. But so afterwards, he made a more popular cookie, which was a soft cookie. His cookies were crunchy. And he literally did an interview and he said, people like soft cookies, so I make them and I'm proud of how good they are and people love them. He goes, I don't like them, I like the crunchy ones. And he literally ate the crunchy cookie. And he's like, those are the ones I like, but people love them. So I would make that shift, not to, if you don't like it, others won't like it. I would say if you're not proud of it, if you're like, yeah, it's a dog, then it's a dog. But if you're proud of it, right? Even if you don't personally like it, if you go, that's good quality right there. And people who like that thing will love that. I think that's the key. If you're not proud of it, how will anyone else be proud of it or like it either? So I would look at the pride issue myself.
Now, you're at a moment, I want to talk about your companies in a minute, but you're at a moment where we're particularly Tesla and SpaceX are really growing in lots of ways.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
And you've had plenty of ups and downs even to this point, but
yep.
It's a high point. on your own journey in this way, what are the biggest mistakes you've made that you've learned from?
This is the failure piece we talked about, right? You've got to be able to fail and get back up.
You talked a little bit about being willing to put yourself out there.
Yep.
Fail, learn, keep growing. What
Absolutely.
were turning points for you that really you said, wait a minute, this is wrong, or this is the wrong move, either personally or for the company, and that you learned from that have fed to where you are right now?
100%.
Well, if I had to list all the mistakes, this would be a very long call. So too many to even think of. I'm trying to think of.
I get that.
Could I classify them in some way?
Can you classify his failures?
Well, I mean, some of the things I mentioned just before, it's like where I was recommending that people spend less time in a conference room, less time getting presentations and spreadsheets, and that. Like generally, that's like when I have spent too much time in a conference room, that's generally when things have gone awry. And when I go and spend time on the factory floor,
that's not
really
a good answer, my friend.
The cars, thinking about
that wasn't helpful.
It's like that's where things have gone better.
But does that risk? Some people would worry that risks sending a message to your teams that you personally have to be involved.
Yep.
That you can't delegate or you can't trust them. And I think that's one thing that makes some executives reluctant. They're trying to find that line between showing their personal commitment and trusting their subordinates to do the work. So
you don't want to micromanage.
Yeah, I mean, you're known for being passionate, sleep in the factory floor, but is that a concern for you, or do you not care? That's not an issue for you, right?
You're a bad interviewer.
Well, there's a lot of talented people at SpaceX and Tesla, and I think the morale is good.
What I want to bring up here when it comes to leadership, and for those of you who are in management positions or things like that, and you say, well, no, I want my leader to be right next to me all the time. That isn't always the right answer, right? The issue is you want to make sure that you believe that your leader is not asking you to do anything that he or she wouldn't do themselves. That's a critical piece. You have to believe that. If you don't believe that, you're going to begin to be angry with your leader, right? When I ran my campaign, one of the things I did is, I had a lot of drivers. When 2014, you know what I was for our gubernatorial candidate in 2014? I was his driver. So I did exactly the same thing I asked others to do. I was that person. So I'm not asking anyone to do anything that I wouldn't have done. I already did. And that was the kind of, before I started my campaign, I wrote myself a check for $10,000. I bugged you guys for money all the time. Well, I had to put my own money in first. You had to know that. Well, if I'm going to put money in this, well, Larry, yeah, my money's in, right? And again, for these okay, you can go check the data. It's public knowledge. I put 10 grand of my own money in, right? And then I said, guys, give me money. So I think that's a more critical piece. The people have to believe that whatever you're saying, guys, get out there, do that you would do. I think that's a critical piece. And speaking of that, since that was the perfect timing for that, guys, if you want to help me out, you can. I'm bugging you for money now. If you like what I'm doing, if you appreciate what I'm bringing to you, if you want me to keep doing it, head on over to patreon.com/Sharpe Way. Throw me a couple bucks. If you got your Biden bucks in, did you get your stimulus check? Is it stimmy time? Throw me some of your stimulus money if you can. $10, $25 a month, whatever you could do, whatever you got. If you're filthy rich, throw the whole $100 a month at me if you got all that kind of money. I hope you're Elon Musk rich. Do that. That'd be amazing. But if you don't have the cash, no worries. We were talking about government interference, and part of that's the response to the pandemic. How do you feel about that? You okay with it? Different parts for you okay? Heading over, click that link that I have inside the description. The link right here takes you over to the advocates.org, the pandemic survey. Please take it. It's free. So if you got the cash, I'm happy to take the cash because I got to keep building this out and keep doing this and paying my team. I got to keep doing that. But if you don't have the cash, no worries. I'm not mad about that either. I'm not mad about Elon Musk having a ton of money or maybe you not having a ton of money. All good. No worries. Click on this. It's free. 3 to 5 minutes. Take the test. Finish it. Once you're finished with that test, share it online. YouTube, Twitter, wherever you got to share it. Share it. Let people know you took it. It makes my sponsors happy. It makes me happy. And it's free. And of course, always like, comment, and share. All right. Let me keep going down this road for a little bit because he does say things that I want to keep touching some of these points he makes.
I for sure respect them greatly, and it's an honor to work with them. And I find that if I am engrossed in the details of the issues, this does not result in them feeling better, but worse, but feeling better. Like they're in my experience, more energized. It's like, if you think about like war, it's like
don't do war, dude. Stay in your lane. You own your lane. Stay in your lane. You own it. Don't go here. This is going to be a mistake.
Do you want the general in some ivory tower or on the front lines? Like,
I don't want on the front line.
The troops are gonna fight a lot harder if they see the general on the front lines than if
no, they're not.
Generals, in some cushy situation. So
we need sergeants in the front line. We don't even want lieutenants in the front line.
Just the prince in the palace.
Yeah.
Get out there on the goddamn front line and show them.
Okay, scratch that one, guys. Ignore that one. That was a bad one.
Just in some plush office somewhere.
Yeah, I'm in my plush office right now, actually.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, my office. Yeah. Let's talk quickly about Tesla. But both Tesla and SpaceX were scaling up today.
I'm gonna wrap that part up. I think I covered the parts I wanted to cover. If you want to see that interview, you can head on over there. Please check it out. It's very easy to find. It's Wall Street. Just do Wall Street Journal Elon Musk on YouTube. It'll pop up. You can watch the entire thing. 100% if you like. Please go ahead and do that. Let me grab a couple more of these if I can. Elon co-created PayPal and then sold it. I remember that. Yes, absolutely. He did very well. He made a ton of money there without question. Griffin says, well, this is kind of off topic, but fine. Larry, we need to fix this privatized prison loophole that revenues people for profit as a result. Yep. Crime should not have a quota, especially not one. Yes. Agreed. Look, is it possible, Mr. Noir? Is it possible for a private prison system to function? It is possible, but under a very specific type of world can it function. And that is if the incentive is not to lock people up, but the incentive is to actually give people a job or give them a some success or degree or something of that sort. I don't know exactly how that would work. This is a fantasy world. We're not there at all. But if we went to a place to where prisons only got funded, paid if they had success, that would change. Well, Larry, who would do that? We have a model already for that. It's literally recruiters, right? Recruiters grab a bunch of resumes, any of them who they get, they find a job for them, they get paid on that. So if we had a system to where, as an example, and again, I'm making this up just in theory, Griffin, it's just theory, that if you had a two-tiered system, the government system, which is just people who we either believe or have been convicted of something or whatever our guidelines are, they go there. That's the state system. That's it. You go there. That's the regular system. But then there's a privatized system also. That system only gets money if the people get whatever they're supposed to get. So as an example, a judge might sentence them to X number of years and or a college degree or a job or a business or whatever the thing might be. If the company does that, achieves the goal, the company gets paid. That might work. If people can't get it after X number of years, they would fall back to the regular prison system. So something like that could work in theory. You'd have to hammer out some details here or there. There would still be some faults and some problems to it, but it's a much better system than we have now. And that's the only way I could see private prisons working if it was in that model. Hope that was helpful for you. All right. Oh, at least I hope my point came across. So yes. I think one time Musk jumped online with his workers. Now that's not a bad a thing either. It's not like I don't want my officers in front of me in combat. Of course I do, but not all the time. When the big push comes. Otherwise, you can stay in the ivory tower. It's fine. No worries. I'm really okay with that. So Jay says, Larry, you got to call Elon to fund your gubernatorial campaign. Yeah. He says he's social liberal and fiscal conservative. If only he would endorse an LP candidate. Well, maybe I'm the one. We'll find out. I love it. Absolutely. Maybe. Kyle says, what are your thoughts on flat income tax versus a sole sales tax? None of these things am I against in theory, right? This is a generic, people go, well, you got to love flat tax. I love this. The devil's always in details, Kyle. Do I want a better, fairer tax system for Americans? Without question, yes. Again, and I go to the next part, is this a stepping stone? Do I believe that it's a stepping stone to even less taxation and or more ways of raising money other than taxation? If I would believe that, totally fine with it. If not, it's just another way of making bad taxation look good. So am I against the flat income tax? No, if other things are in line. I don't mean to dodge that question. I know it could sound like I'm dodging it. I just want to tell you all the different tax schemes are probably better than what we have now, but I just want to make sure that we're not adding. Our current tax system is an embarrassment, a disaster. It's only hurtful. It's created industry for nothing. It's all bad. If we would simplify the tax system as a general rule, I'm in, as long as I know it's not actually adding taxation. So that's my issue. So Steve says, I'm leaving Washington State for Texas now. Wow, I didn't see that Washington was a big deal they were leaving. Well, there we go. Absolutely. So, hey, Larry, I got my opinions ready to smoke. I think onions are ready to smoke. I'm wondering, do you think car insurance should not be mandatory? Like myself, this could save low-income, middle-income families thousands a year. The only way you should not mandate car insurance would be if you had some other way of taking care of people who are injured or hurt in car accidents. So if you had some other form that would work, I guess you could do it, right? In theory, but you'd have to have a way of taking care of it, right? I never want to abolish something without there being something better to replace the other options available. So maybe if there was another option you could have, either car insurance or some form of co-op that would pay and support, I could buy that if you think that would be a way of making it work. And the reason why I bring this up is you look at the Amish, right, as an example. It's a crude example, but I think it's one that makes sense. The Amish don't have to, unless legally, they don't have to buy any insurance, not required to buy any insurance in their world, because if Ezekiel's house burns down, Jebediah and crew go over and rebuild his house. They actually have a social contract. Like they actually have one, right? You live there, that's social contract. If Ezekiel's house burns down, you're going to be over there hammering nails and wood and rebuilding his house. If your house burns down, they're going to rebuild your house. That's how that works. So if you had some form of co-op that would replace that, fine. But I don't want people to just be screwed because they had an accident. People do need help here or there. So that you want to find an answer to replace it. And again, I'm open to the answers. But the idea of we should just abandon things or end things. In the long run, that type of just end or abandon, while in the long run it might work, in the short run, there is tons of disruption. And when there's so much disruption, Americans become afraid. And when Americans become afraid, they do bad things. They make stupid decisions. They make bad decisions. Almost everything I hate was because of afraid Americans. War on drugs, war on terror, Patriot Act, all because of afraid Americans, right? The Second Amendment laws, all because of afraid Americans. Afraid Americans create everything bad. So I don't want to create that. That would be my worry. Because if I get a bunch of afraid Americans, things get a whole lot worse. So, yeah. So, anyway. So, let me keep going here. When considering moving, I think, does this place have work? Of course, Ryan. Yeah. What's the cost of living? Can I afford property? Can I see the mountains? Oh, I like that one. I didn't think about that one. Can I see the mountains? I like that. Dustin, we don't really have private prisons. They're government subsidized. It's another good point. And in New York State, we officially don't have private prisons, but we kind of do, because we have basically contractors who work employees in the prisons for pennies and grift them off of, phone and commissary. So while we officially don't have private prisons in New York State, we do have what you're talking about. It's government subsidized. It's that combination government monopoly type thing that is just terrible. Yes, that's what we actually have. Yes. So you can never try too hard. You can try hard and you might fall hard. Try harder, you might fall harder. Valid points. Try harder, you might fall the hardest. Yes. Since that is the end of the scale, you can never be too hard. Okay. Which in turn means you can never fall too hard that you can't get up and try again. Onion thoughts. I like that. Everybody, it's Friday night. Everybody's on onions now. Yes. Yeah. Onions equals cannabis. It's fine. It's onions. All good. Yes. All right. So let me keep going here if I can. I grab a couple more. Volunteerism works. That's very true. How can I not pick up that one? So good. Guys, I got to say it again. Please head on over. Take the pandemic survey. It helps me out tremendously. It makes my sponsors happy. It makes me happy. Go do that. If you like what I'm doing, if you want me to keep doing it, do that. Or if you've got some cash instead, patreon.com/Sharpe. Throw me $10 a month, $25 a month, whatever it is, so I can keep this going again and again and again. And I can promote it more and make it be bigger, stronger, faster, more bodies, more people. Make this thing grow so we can be super cool and awesome. And always, even after the show, like, comment, share. Share this on Twitter, share this wherever. And the last piece I'll ask you, if you could, follow me on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, don't follow Larry Sharpe. That's great. That guy's smart. Do that. But go follow Sharpe Way on Twitter. Let's get Twitter bigger, better, stronger. Follow me specifically, Sharpe Way on Twitter. Heading over there. Click those likes if you could. It helps me tremendously. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for this evening. I appreciate all the time you gave me. I will see you all next week.